Oh. ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. Hari Om. We are now moving on to the next section of this yoga of meditation. Gurudev, in his commentary on chapter 6 of Bhagavad-Gita, very clearly points out to us that most people who are ready to practice meditation, they hesitate in the beginning because of a certain amount of fear and doubt. And the first and foremost fear that a person has is of psychological fear. If you are in a dangerous physical condition, let us say at the cliff of a mountain, at that cliff, when you're standing there looking down, you will definitely have fear gripping you. Or you are encountering a very dangerous animal. Or if you are threatened by someone, with a weapon in the hand. These are physical fears, and this physical fear is necessary for you to protect yourself, your physical body from danger. For example, a child which is maybe a year old or so does not have any of this physical fear. It may even walk in the middle of the street or go to the edge of a cliff because it does not have the concept of physical hurt or death. Whereas you and I have, we have observed it or seen it in some movies and other information channels or some kind of communication we have got that death means physically getting hurt, or being stabbed by a knife means a great pain, etc. We have not probably experienced it, but definitely we have assumed it looking at certain things. As well as jumping from a cliff, it's definitely fearsome, and you can't imagine even what happens to your body when it reaches the ground and breaks into pieces. Now, we have not done that, so therefore we do not know, but yet it's a physical fear that we experience. Now, certain amount of psychological fear is involved in that, in the sense that all I have said so far may not have been our own personal experience, but we have a feeling or an emotion, an imagination about it. So therefore, certain amount of psychological fear associated with that. Now, as far as this meditation is concerned, it is not a physical activity. You are not doing anything physically. That is why in the chapter 6 itself, Bhagavan Krishna says, do not sit for meditation at the edge of a cliff or at the bottom of some kind of a cave, because these are the places not fit for such meditative practices. It doesn't help you because you will always have a fear about it, fear of falling down, or maybe being bitten by some insects, darkness, etc. Now, most people who have certain amount of fear in meditation is about psychological, purely psychological. When I say purely psychological, what I mean by that is that there is going to be certain emptiness that you will going to encounter because we do not know what is on the other side. Just like a person who is dying is so afraid because he has never experienced himself moving about without a body. What happens to me when I do not have a body? Where do I go? What do I do? How do I move about? What do I experience? What all things that I have to experience here in this world, or if at all I am going to some other world, what do I experience? I don't know. So that fear is there for a dying person. In the same way, for a person who is entering into meditation, he does not know what exactly on the other side. What is that state of not thinking? What is the state of no thoughts? The only thing that probably he would come to imagine is it would be similar to sleep, where every day we have experienced this. So we go to the bed, and then at some point of time we lose ourselves, where there are no thoughts and totally silence. Now, but that's a pleasant experience, so to say. So because until we wake up next morning, we really do not even imagine or think about it. And next morning when we wake up, if you look back and what happened during the sleep, nothing. But where you got lost? No, I was not lost. I was resting. Whereas meditation is not sleep, where you are awake, you are conscious, you are aware, but with no thoughts. Which means what? Reaching an emptiness. And is it certain that we reach somewhere? Are we going somewhere? What is that emptiness? What does it feel like? And even if the guru or the teacher, the scriptures talk about it as a state of bliss, but not sure, we have not experienced. It is not our experience, or unless we have some amount of faith and trust in the teacher, we will not enter into that. So, Gurudev writes that this psychological fear complex, as he says, as a yogin slowly and steadily gets himself unwound from his sensuous vasanas, he gets himself released as it were from the cruel embrace of his own mental octopus. At this moment of transcendence, the unprepared seeker feels himself morally afraid of the thought that he is getting himself dissolved away into nothingness. And more so, the ego, in his long habits of living in close proximity with its own limitations, finds it hard even to believe that there is an existence supreme, divine, and infinite. So the next one is the doubtfulness about the spiritual goal. There is no physical proof. There is no physical proof that there is Brahman, the absolute existence. Obviously, it is not object, therefore you cannot have a physical evidence. But that does not mean it doesn't exist. But to have that complete faith that there is this absolute self which I am, and it is not nothingness, it has its own pure, homogeneous, everlasting, all-pervading existence. These are words. For a person who really gets into meditation, unless he or she has a complete confidence and complete trust in what is said in the scriptures or in the teacher, there is this doubtful intellect, doubtful mind, so to say, which would not allow the person to move further. So meditation will become a mere sitting in silence, sitting and doubting. Is it there? Is it there? Where it is? How it is? Why it is? When it is? So Gurudev says that this ego of ours, which is full of the habits, its own preconceived notions and its own indulgences, its own comforts, would not allow the soul, the individual who is trying to overcome the clutches of the ego, to go beyond. So these two are there for a person who is attempting to meditate. The third thing is inability to let go of favorite experiences and habits. The ego constantly warns, hey, you will be going to a state of being where you will no more have the joy of enjoying this worldly objects and the sense experiences. It will all be nothing. So it will give you a kind of a threat. It will give you a kind of feeling of regretfulness. So the ego does not want to lose its grip over the soul, and therefore it will try to pull that person back to the old habits. Unless there is a constant guidance from the teacher or guru, or one's own assurance given by one's own convictions of the intellect, it is very hard to overcome the usual play of the ego. Gurudev gives the example, used to give the example. In this book, he slightly mentions that a lady who regularly carries fishes in her basket, and she is traveling by train in India from one station to another. And as she was going, and she was sitting in that, and she was very tired by the daytime, and she was sitting and sleeping, and then reached her place where she had to sell her fishes, which she has got in that day morning or previous evening. So she goes to the fish market, which is filled with that fish smell, and she goes and sells all the fishes. And late evening, she is further tired, and when she was catching up the same train to come back to her home, and next to her was another lady. She had a basket full of jasmine flowers. And this lady, the fish lady, is trying to sleep, and she could not tolerate the smell of the jasmine flower. And she tells her, hey, you stay far away from me. I'm not able to sleep because of the smell of the jasmine. Imagine this. Because she is so used to the smell of the foul smelling fish, which makes her comfortable, and she is able to comfortably sleep as well. She could not stand the fragrant, beautiful smell of the jasmine flower. So is the case with all of us. We are not able to let go of the usual habits of our ego, our sense indulgences, and when the scriptures assure us that what you are going to experience is the bliss of the self, bliss of the infinite self. So infinite self can give only infinite bliss. That unlimited, unconditional, blissful experience is what you are going to have in the state of meditation. But then, since we are so used to the egoistic indulgences, we are not able to let go. Just like the fisherwoman is not able to let go of her experience of having the fish smell, in spite of the fact that she is accompanied by, next to her is a person who sells a fragrance jasmine flower. So this is the case of all of us, and thus we are not able to have the strength to let go. Now, what is the solution for this? So the solution for that, which here Bhagavan Krishna gives, is brahmacharya. The word brahmacharya, as Gurudev writes in his commentary, is both instruction and prescription straight at the same time, because the word has this ability to give both. One is an instruction what to do. Second is a state of being. Instruction of what ought to be done and are invariably followed by a complete and detailed prescription of how the instruction portion can be faithfully availed or followed. So here the instruction is that, but in the case of the term brahmacharya, we have in all at once the instruction on what ought to be done, and also the prescription as to how best it can be done at the same time. So the one is, brahmacharya means self-control. It does not mean only celibacy. It is not talking about only the non-sexual indulgence, but it is at the same time all sense organs have to be given this instruction that don't overdo, don't overindulge. So it is not a complete denial of the sense experiences, but discipline of it. The moment you realize that you have gone overboard, you should know and stop it. Whether it is eating or sleeping or any other sense experiences. And so, when a mind thus being controlled, not getting indulged so much in the sense experience, has enormous power, as we have seen before. It has to be directed towards something, and therefore, the same word, brahmacharya, means Brahmani Charanam. So, stay in abidance of the self. So, one is mastery over the senses, another is consistent attention on the self. Both are indicated by the same term, brahmacharya. At one level, at the physical level, and to some extent the psychological level, it is control of the senses and the mind. At the higher level, the same mind which has become thus put under control or brought under control must be engaged in contemplation upon the higher self. Now, in this context, I have to tell you about the difference between concentration and contemplation, which will come to that later. Now, the next one, which will help an individual to overcome the fear and doubt, etc., which one invariably would get into before attempting to meditate, is divine love. This love, which is also divine love, which is known as devotion, is not in terms of, not in the form of going to a temple or sitting in front of a particular form of God and doing some puja or upasana. It is more of seeking that very divinity which you will find in the Lord in a temple, in you, in within oneself. In other words, building a temple inside. The devotion is a slow construction of a temple in your heart for the self, for the absolute reality. So therefore, an individual who is thus having certain amount of apprehension about the spiritual goal or the fear about the unknown, emptiness, uncertainty, can overcome that by bringing the loving element, the element of love, the emotion of love, the feeling of being beloved of the Lord, being close to the proximity of the Lord in one's own heart, thereby having certain amount of security, a certain amount of closeness, proximity of something one wants to reach. The divinity which is already in me, I would like to experience it. The divinity that I find in the Lord, in the temple, in the serenity of the Himalayas, in the saintliness of the saint, is already within me. I need to go there and live there. I need to reach there and be one with that. This eagerness, this seeking is divine love. And this also helps one to gain that confidence, gain that enthusiasm and inspiration to practice meditation. Contemplation. Contemplation is a word which we use for the preparation for the mind to enter in the state of meditation. Contemplation is a journey within, and this journey requires certain amount of preparation. Just like before undertaking a long journey in your vehicle, you have to check the vehicle's status. Whether it can take up that kind of a long journey, its tires are good, it has enough fuel, its functionality and all the mechanisms, everything is working well. Is it comfortable? Can all the people who are going to travel can go in that comfortably? And the road conditions, etc. So many things that you need to think about before undertaking a journey which takes, let's say, 2-3 days. In the same way, contemplation is a preparation for meditation, and for contemplation itself there is preparation. So, the first and foremost thing which Lord Krishna tells us to think about before you sit is the place where you are going to sit must be very well ventilated for healthy atmosphere, because he cautions that if you are sitting in a place where there is not enough oxygen, is there not enough natural light, the air is not pure, dampness or darkness, etc., if they are there, it will not be helpful to your body. Your breathing will be affected, your physiological system will be disturbed, and in essence, at the end of a few minutes itself, you will be feeling tired, exhausted, fatigued, and would feel like sleeping. So, well ventilated area is the first step for contemplation. And further going down, he says the physical body, even though physical body is not the one who is going to take up this journey, but it is a vehicle. There are 2 or 3 vehicles are involved in this practice. The external vehicle, the outermost vehicle, is the body, and then the mind, and then the intellect, which is going to finally push you out of the entire identification of body, mind, and intellect. So, if we want to give the example of a pole vaulter, I mean, this is what Gurudev used to give as the most appropriate example for this, which I have also mentioned in many places. You need the pole, and you need a distance between pole and the bar, and then finally your own physical strength to run, and then finally let go of the pole. So, if you see the pole which you are carrying, let us say the body, the distance between you and the bar which you would like to cross is the mind's journey towards that. The intellect is that which gives you the strength to let go of everything and jump the other side. So, the first one is the physical body with which we are identified most of the time. So, our identification with the physical body is so strong during the entire day, every day, and we have been having this identification for so many years, and therefore this physical body needs to be first of all trained. Yoga and other practices will definitely help you to maintain the physical posture. As it is shown in the picture here, the steadiness of posture where head, neck and the body are in one straight line means that one should not, lie down and practice meditation or the preparation for meditation, contemplation. So, the journey within, which is contemplation, leading to a state of stillness, meditation, cannot be done unless the physical body is alert, which means to say one has to sit upright posture, and one can close one's own eyes completely or semi-open eyes, because the reason why this is prescribed is that if you completely close your eyes, you gain complete darkness, and the mind, which is usually tired, when complete darkness comes, it is a suggestion to the mind and the body that you are ready to sleep, because that is the only time when we completely close our eyes. And so, when you have your eyes completely closed, the body naturally will prepare itself to sleep. So, therefore, it is suggested that you don't completely close it and little open it, keep it open. And Krishna says in Bhagavad-Gita that you keep your eyes half closed and focus is on the middle of the eyebrows. Dishachan anavalokayan, without looking here and there, keep nose. Keep the eyes concentrating of the tip of the nose, which is in between the eyebrows. And then the physical body, as you see, abdominal breathing is good because that will help you to keep your bottom part of the posture very straight and sit in a very comfortable seat that will help you to retain your posture for a long time. And these are all given to us by Bhagavad-Gita. So Bhagavan Krishna even explains that you have a small cushion, not too soft, so that you will be able to sit for a long period of time and make sure that your back is straight. So in case you are not able to sit down on the floor straight, you can use a backrest, but make sure that your back is straight and not too much leaning on the backrest. Some people have the tendency to feel that they will fall back, so therefore they can go closer to the wall and sit there so that they psychologically they won't feel that they are going to fall away. Now, withdrawal of the sensory experiences to senses. This is another important aspect because basically we are trying to not allow the mind to get out and then engage in the usual business. So it is prescribed that from smell to nose, from taste to tongue, from sight to eyes, from touch to breath, from sound to silence. Yes, you will have your nose, your tongue, your ears open. You are not closing that. And your physical body, the entire body is a sense of touch that is also is open and available to experience. Now, you may close your eyes, but therefore you may not see things. But that doesn't mean that you are inside your eyes, you don't see anything. Meaning, just like in the case of a dream, you still see things with the closed eyes. So there are visions, there are forms coming to your mind even when your eyes are closed. So a conscious practice of withdrawing the experience from the what is available to you from outside to inside. So when the nose is open, nostrils are open, you may have the smell of something else coming from outside. But then, with your mind, shift your attention from the smell to the nose. Similarly, tongue may have, let us say you have had a coffee before you sat for meditation, thinking that will help you being alert. Yes, nothing wrong. You can avoid it if you would like to, just to have water so that your taste in the tongue would not be there for you to think about. But if you have had something, so that tongue will have the taste, but withdraw from the tongue, from the taste to the tongue, meaning withdraw that attention of the mind going towards that particular experience. Similarly, eyes which are closed may have some visions, some forms coming in. So slowly withdraw from that again to that mind which is quiet, which is not engaging in what is being shown in the eyes. Similarly, from breath, so you concentrate on the incoming and outgoing breath, no doubt. And that is why many of the meditators practice the slow breathing, a very slow breathing in or inhalation, and if it is necessary, hold it for a short period of time. If you are having blood pressure, etc., do not do that. And if you are young, obviously I am addressing to the young, so they may not have these blood pressure issues. So if you are healthy, then you take the breath slowly, inhalation, and then hold it for a few seconds. Don't force it. Hold it for a few seconds, and then slowly exhale and release it. And then again hold it outside. Do not immediately breathe in for some time, for a few seconds. This will help you to move away from all other experiences with the mind will try to engage and then slowly withdraw itself to some amount of quietude. Similarly, there may be certain sounds coming outside, from outside. It's better to start the practice in the early morning so that There is less of external disturbance, sound. So from sound, go to the silence within. So this way, you are in a ventilated area, you're sitting in a very steady posture where there is not much of a movement, not getting up and moving about or even oscillating in one's own place, and withdrawing of the senses from its usual areas of activities to the mind. Continuing, as I have said, steadiness of gaze, eyes not shifting, focus on the tip of the nose. So this also has specifically, Krishna mentions in Bhagavad-Gita, is unsteady gaze shows unsteady mind, doubtful, fraught with fear. This is how Gurudev writes it. So, if you are talking to someone and the person's eyes are constantly shifting, there are possibilities that that person is not sure about what he or she is saying. Or the mind is going very fast and what he's saying is slow. So his thoughts are fast, but he's not communicating as fast as his thoughts are. And such people will have unsteady gaze. The shifting eyes, they would not even look at you straight. They will look here, there, and then they keep on rattling about this, that happened, this happened. And it's not for us to judge anybody. Please understand that. The idea is that if you are able to keep your gaze at steady one place, that will naturally make your mind stay in one place. So that will help you. So the agitation free mind is what is expected to be the right preparation for the contemplation. So when the mind has so many thoughts, it will be clearly seen in the shifting eyes, as I said. And agitation free mind is a mind which is naturally quiet, and the natural quietude and peace are the signs of a pure mind. If the mind is a mind which is scheming, which is regretful or depressed or angry or planning on some vengeance, giving it back to somebody who hurt, and all these things are there in the mind, obviously sitting in practicing for meditation will not be possible. So the general adjustment that needs to be done is also practice for preparation for contemplation. Now let me come exactly to the point of what is contemplation. There are three methods or three ways one can engage in contemplation. Three ways means three are the methods. The method that is usually prescribed to us by the great masters of the Upanishad is that take a few verses indicating to the highest reality. From the Upanishads, mantras you take and take up with the meaning. So when you chant those mantras in your mind, which you might have memorized, your mind would be able to focus on a subject matter which is not of the world. So that will help you in keeping your mind away from its usual preoccupations. This is one method of contemplation, which is to say, you are not concentrating on a particular object per se, which is outside, but you are engaging in thinking about something which is not an object. So, in other words, concentration is about an object, whereas contemplation is about the subject. Now, the same subject which is pointed out by the Upanishads with abstract terms, avyaktoyam, achintyoyam, avikaryoyam, uchate. So, avyaktaha, unmanifest, achintyaha, unthinkable, nirvikaraha, without form, all those things. So, a person who is very well versed in those terms and the meanings will be able to withdraw his mind from all others and chant these kind of mantras and think in the mind about that abstract real self. But this will be a little difficult for a beginner. Therefore, the other method that is little easier than that is to have a particular form of God right in front of you. Again, Even though you're looking at an object, the physical form or a picture of the Lord, but you are not concentrating on the picture, you are concentrating on the Lord. So again, the Lord is none other than the very self in your own heart. So the method of looking at the form of God is not just a physical looking at. It's not physical beauty of the Lord you are looking at. You are looking at the Lord as the most beloved, most loving, most compassionate, the very breath of your life, in whose presence alone you are able to live. The whole world is engaged, whole world is able to exist because of His presence. His loving grace is there in everything, in the tree, in the plant, in the rain, in the sun, in the moon, in the flowers, in the water, in everything, that anybody whom you met, in your father, in your mother, in your brother, in your sister, your friends, in all of them, it is He who is functioning through, is constantly taking care of me. I'm so grateful to His presence in my life, and without whom I cannot exist. This way, you have a feeling of total gratitude, thankfulness, love, and devotion, that welling up of that emotion, the feeling, which by looking at the form, if you are able to maintain, then that is also contemplation. Third, if you are not either interested in learning about the mantras from the Vedas, or you are not even having a particular favorite deity about whom you will be able to contemplate, yes, then take up two things: either the sound of Om or just mere breathing. The sound of Om is also an equally powerful method, or the sound of Om, utterance of that is also an equally powerful method by which you can engage in contemplation. It's called Omkar Upasana. So, by this preparing yourself sitting quietly, then take up to chant the Om with all attention, starting from your own, the sound starting from your navel. Take equal matra or equal time for chanting the three letters that are involved in Om: A, U, and All the three must have equal timing for you to utter, and then follow it by silence. So, this silence will help you to lead yourself to a state of inner quietude, and then again take up the chanting of Om. You can associate this with inhalation, exhalation as well. As you are leading to that quietude, that is when you keep the breath either inside or outside without either taking in or releasing. That few seconds of retention or not taking the air, which is called with retention is called Puraka, and then not taking the breath is called Rechaka. So you may proceed with inhalation, exhalation, etc. So that needs to be, you need to learn it from a competent teacher or guru who would teach you or initiate you into this kind of contemplation. So these three methods are used. Either the Om can be chanted independent of the breathing, or you can associate with the breathing as well. So the three methods by which you can keep the practice of contemplation is: one, taking the mantras from the Upanishad and contemplation upon them, thinking about them. So thus you making your mind fully available, abiding in the self. Or the second is having the beautiful form of the Lord whom you are able to relate with, and then engage in thinking about the Lord as the very substratum of your own life, and then with that loving emotion keep your mind occupied with that, or chant the Om, which is indicator of Brahman, and with all concentration followed by silence, that will make your mind go into that quietude. So these three are the methods of contemplation. So again, coming back to the point, concentration is about looking at or focusing on an object outside as an object, whereas contemplation is the same practice, but the focus is on something within. Within is the self, with the help of anything outside called a form, or with the help of mantras, or with the help of utterance of Om followed by silence, or associated with the breathing. This is the method of contemplation. Now, let me come to another important point, which is what actually happens and the end of contemplation, where the meditation would begin. Contemplation is a practice. Meditation is a state. And this is the major difference between contemplation and meditation. Contemplation is a journey, meditation is a destination. So if we can understand these two terms in its real sense, then there is no confusion. Whatever is being instructed to be done is contemplation. Nobody can instruct you to meditate, because it is not possible for anyone to actually make you meditate. Because it is like somebody cannot make you go to sleep. Of course, if you can take a sleeping pill, definitely you can go to sleep by force. But here, it is not a forced entry into meditation. So what instruction anybody can give you is only to prepare you for the journey. Even the journey you have to undertake yourself. And what happens at the end of the journey, where you finally reach the point, is the meditation. Now, having said that, let me give a simple example here. The light that comes in, when it is passed through a spectrum, passed through a prism, it becomes a spectrum of 7 colors. In the same way, the perception that we have in this world through eyes, ears, nose, tongue, etc., when we perceive anything, we perceive it only with the mind actually. Even though we use eyes, ears, nose, tongue, skin, etc., but our perception is always by the mind. If the mind is not there, no perception will take place. So when the perception takes place and the mind, it divides it into the 5 parts of seeing, hearing, tasting, smelling, and touching, and it becomes independent experiences for us. A sensory experience of seeing is different from hearing and smelling and tasting and touching. And our experiences as such are divided ones. So this very divided experience that we have is to be first of all merged back to meditation. To the mind, and finally to awareness. So whatever I see, hear, taste, smell, touch is none other than the function of the mind. That we need to realize first. In Upanishad, actually it is said, Echet Vag Manasi Prajna. All experiences from the senses, not only from eyes, ears, nose, tongue, skin, it also includes hands, legs, speech, excretion, and reproduction. These 5 karmendriyas, or the organs of action, whatever we do, Jnanendriyas, whatever we perceive through the senses of eyes, ears, nose, tongue, skin, all 5 plus 5, 10 of them are none other than the mind. So, from the sensory experiences of 10 sensory experiences, we have to convert them into mind. This is what you do in contemplation. This is recombination from functional thinking, which is what most of us are busy with the mind. We are busy with experiencing the world. But when you sit for contemplation, again, for meditation, practice of contemplation for meditation. So, when you sit for contemplation, basically what you are doing is to withdraw all the senses to the mind, as we have seen before, only to realize that it is the mind which is doing everything. Nahyasya vidya manaso vidirikta manohya vidya bhavabandha heduhu tasmin vinashte sakalam vinashtam vijrambidesmin sakalam vijrambade. This is how Upanishad says. When the mind is not there, there cannot be any experience at all. When the mind is there, all experiences are possible. In other words, experiences are nothing but what is interpreted by the mind. So once we realize that it is the mind which is the basis of all our experiences, then the next question is, what is mind? So first of all, from the diversified perceptions which is happening in a functional thinking called mind, recombination of that is what is called contemplation, sitting quietly and withdrawing the senses into the mind. Once we recognize that it is the mind which is doing all the activities, what is the nature of the mind? So, focus on that. So, the contemplation becomes a little more subtle, and you realize that mind is thought. What is thought? A transaction between subject and object. Objects are different, subject is one. So, what is different, what is changing, let us leave aside. What is constant, what is always there, let us focus. Just like eyes, ears, nose, tongue, skin are all giving various experiences, but the one which is commonly found in all of them is the mind. So we left the variety, the changing, to the apparently permanent mind. From the mind, which is filled up with thoughts, from many thoughts which are about many things, to the self or the subject which is common, which is constant. So, from the objects of thoughts, objects of experience, let us go to subject of every experience. The subject being the self, the consciousness. If I am not conscious, there cannot be any experience at all. If I am not conscious, there cannot be any mind at all. So, obviously, therefore, the mind, which is an external expression of the self with respect to any object, which is coming in the form of a thought, now move on to the self. So, therefore, the self, the consciousness, or otherwise known as awareness, is what the very substratum of all experiences. And I am that consciousness. I am that awareness. This I am that awareness is not a particular thought. It is like I am a human. It's not a thought, it is awareness. In the same way, I am consciousness is awareness. And this state of awareness is what is referred as meditation. It is not just a silence, it is not just a mute existence, it is full awareness, full understanding. So, when a person remains in that I am awareness state, he is in a state of meditation, where no other thought passes through his mind, no other experiences demands his attention, no sensory activities, and thus he remains in that continuous awareness, I am. I am that pure awareness, pure consciousness. Again, this is not a commentary that goes on in the mind. It is not something which one repeats. It is not, you don't repeat, I am human, I am human, I am human, while walking, while interacting with others, while driving the car, while you are talking to someone. while you are engaged in many activities? Do you keep repeating that I am human, I am human, I am human? No. So, in the same way, a person who has practiced contemplation and has led himself to meditation is aware. What? I am pure awareness. And any impurity is coming in the form of a thought. Not only impurity, any kind of disturbance in this awareness is a thought. It can be good or bad. It may be about something which I like, it's something about I don't like as well. It doesn't matter. So, the moment we move away from awareness, the diffractions takes place. That's like the sunlight passing through the prism becomes the spectrum. In the same way, the pure light that is sun, which is consciousness, passing through the mind becomes sensory experiences. So, going back to the source, going back to where you began, going back to the very substratum, going back to the source, this going back to the source is a journey, and reaching there is meditation. And that I am the awareness, I am the pure awareness is not a mute existence, it's a blissful experience. It's a joyful experience. The joy that a person experiences there in meditation is not something which is created by any external sensory engagement. It is not even a thought. And therefore, it doesn't leave, it doesn't go away, it doesn't diminish, it doesn't disappear. So, one who has reached that state of being, that state of awareness, comes to discover this is what I am. This blissful self is I am. And for this, I don't need to depend upon anything else. It doesn't depend upon any worldly experience or engagement. It doesn't depend upon any person, any situation, any place, any happening. And thus he becomes filled with that joy, fulfilled he becomes. And sometimes it may not be that one would recognize it right away. That is why the scriptures help one. This you have reached is the destination. It's like a signboard. You're traveling towards let us say a particular city. You're traveling from LA to San Francisco. As you're going, there is the signboard which says 100 miles from here is San Francisco, and then 50 miles, and then 20 miles, and then 10 miles, then 5, and then 2, and then is welcome to San Francisco. In the same way, a person who is attempting to reach that point through contemplation comes to have the sign which says, welcome to meditative state, welcome to awareness. And what are the signs of San Francisco? Golden Gate, Golden Bridge. In the same way, the Upanishads point out these are the symptoms or the signs of pure awareness. And thus, a person reached there with the help of scriptures come to recognize that, oh, this is what it is. This is what it is. And thus, he self-assures himself or herself, such a person is able to maintain that state of awareness in oneself and in the seat of meditation. And now the practice is from that state of awareness, he starts operating to the world. This is where the real challenge is. Because one who has thus experienced the inner bliss born out of nothing of the world, thereby there is no need for such an individual to anymore look for happiness outside, still comes back to the world and starts operating. And such an individual who is reached that state of awareness and bliss, he would not have any need to come and transact with the world. But then his physical body, which is a product of his past actions, has to go through certain experiences because it has already born and is engaging in the world, needs to go through the life experiences, and therefore such an individual comes to again behave and act like anybody else, but then he would not forget. But his original nature is pure awareness. Thus, to assure oneself, he will go back to that point of total awareness through meditation again and again. That's why Bhagavan Krishna here in the Bhagavad-Gita, he says that this individual, he will engage uh, uh, in the practice of meditation constantly, and such a practice, constant practice, is not mandatory for a person who has fully established in that. But for any one of us who would probably attempt to reach there, may reach, may not reach, but every attempt will make you closer, come closer to it. And therefore, one should not get tired of doing that. And this is has been prescribed by Bhagavad Gita and Upanishad, that doing it consistently every day, attempting to reach there as often as you can. As students, as youngsters, you may have so many other things to do. It's all right. But exclusively keep some moments of every day, early morning preferably, for the attempt to go beyond the habits of the senses, the clutches of the ego and the mind, and go to the objectless awareness state. This is what is prescribed, and Gurudev has emphasized it in many, many different places, that the consistent practice alone makes this perfection. Again, the state of meditation is something which you cannot demand. You cannot assure yourself that it's going to happen, but you can attempt, you can strive, you can seek to reach there. So, what you practice is contemplation, what you reach is meditation. So, please understand that it is the nature of the mind to engage again and again in diversifying this awareness, or dividing this awareness through experiences. Undivided, oneness, wholesome, continuous substratum is the awareness. Once that is realized, that even while the seeing, even while hearing, while walking, while talking, while engaging in the world, there is a part of you which would tell you that I am awareness. Not tell you, but make you become aware of. That's the only way I can express that. I am aware, I am awareness, I'm awareness, I'm awareness. When you are looking at the beauty of the flower, it's beautiful flower, all right. It has beautiful fragrance, it has beautiful petals, and it is brightly shining in the sun. It's brightly showing its colors. I am aware of it. I am awareness. I am able to hear a beautiful music. The music is great. It's making me sing along. The singer is singing it so well, and the lyrics are great. I am able to enjoy this song. I am the awareness who is able to enjoy this song. I am awareness. I am tasting this food. It's a very tastily made, very well prepared, correct combination of spices and oil and everything. And I have never had this before. It's really good. I would like to have it more if possible. But I, the awareness alone, is there who is enjoying it through my tongue, through the mind. I am awareness. A fragrant smell is coming into my nose from that beautiful incense sticks I have lit up there. And I am able to experience that fragrance through my nose. I am awareness who is able to experience this. I am awareness. A thought about something that happened, pleasant one. I remember that when I visited India and I had met my older friends and they talked about many things. And I do remember that how much I enjoyed their company. Yes, it really joyfully remembered those thoughts. I am awareness who is remembering those thoughts. I am awareness. See, therefore, it is not a thing that you repeat to yourself, but it is become a part and parcel of your own being. And that continuous, consistent attention upon the self is called abidance. And exclusively you abide in this state of meditation, and you engage your mind in the world at the same time, not forgetting that your awareness is a practice. So, thus, meditation helps you to get out of the usual ways of living into a different state of awareness. Gurudev call it as the higher state of awareness. And thus is the beauty of practice of contemplation leading to meditation. We will see more of the teachings from chapter 6 of Bhagavad Gita, especially the influence of the following in practice of contemplation: food, work, sleep, and more in the next session. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah, Sarve Santu Niramayaha, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu, Ma Kaschit Dukkhabhat Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.